Hello, ghosties. You're listening to Not My Ghost.
Not my problem. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Jen.
Whether you're a skeptic, a true believer, or somewhere in between, join us for a journey into the unknown.
Because remember, when it comes to the paranormal, it may not be our problem,
but it's certainly someone's problem.
Our Pride and summer merch just dropped today. And by today, I mean the day we are recording. And by drop, I mean I uploaded all the patterns that I designed into the store and put them on things.
And I know you're not going to understand this reference yet, ghosties, but we triple checked all of the designs to make sure everything was perfect. And you'll understand that in a later episode.
Yeah, in next week's episode, that how we messed up a design and sold it. So that happened. But we triple checked all these designs. They are good to go. If you have not seen the new drop on our socials, please go check them out because they're exciting. And it is Pride Month. So we have some nice Pride ghosty stuff and a couple of summer designs as well.
Yeah, I like it. I was really happy with them.
Yeah, me too. Considering I made them, I should be. Welcome to our scripted, unscripted banter.
Yes, unscripted banter. And neither one of our brains are working properly tonight. So
no.
Typically, if you tell me to sit and talk, I could do it for 12, 13 hours straight and not have a problem with it in the world. But I am just drawing blanks all day today.
We are. We just chatted for like a half hour and got really distracted while we were supposed to be recording. And we're both just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, because we were discussing something particular. And then we talked for half an hour about something completely unrelated.
Because that's what happens.
That's what happens. That's what we do.
It is what we do. So before we dive into today's question, Kelly, I do have a thing from a previous episode that I researched.
Okay.
Because I said we were going to look it up, and I actually did.
I'm loving this, man.
I know. My ADHD wasn't ADHDing whatever day I did this.
All I had to do is do it once, and you just ran from there and just...
I did.
Now you just do all of the, we'll have to look that up, and I love it.
I don't hold me to it, though.
Oh, okay.
I can't promise it's going to stay.
I will love it while it lasts.
Thank you. It depends on the ADHD brain day.
Right.
So if you remember back from our episode about the boo hag, we talked about the Gullah culture. And in that episode, I believe, Kelly, you asked, is the Gullah Gullah Island theme song from Gullah culture? Because we specifically said that Gullah culture has a lot of like their own like songs and music and things like that. So I did some research. And while the Gullah Gullah Island theme song does feature Gullah Geechee expression, it isn't entirely from Gullah culture origin. The show itself is strongly inspired and incorporated by elements of Gullah culture, particularly the Gullah Geechee culture of the Sea Islands. The show's creator, Ron and Natalie Daisy, are from St. Helena Island, South Carolina, which is a Gullah community, and they did serve as cultural advisors, ensuring that the show's authenticity reflected their community's traditions, language, and way of life. But Peter Lerai, the head musician for the show, initially wrote the theme song, and then Ron Daisy suggested the line, "Just take your foot in your hand, that means hurry up." And this phrase is culturally relevant to Gullah Geechee expression. So the theme song isn't entirely part of Gullah culture, but Gullah Geechee expression was added later, and it helps kind of make the whole show more culturally relevant.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if you have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, go back and listen to the Boo Hag episode.
Right. If you haven't listened to the Boo Hag episode, I don't understand what exactly you're doing with your life.
No, because that was a great episode.
It really was. All of our
Yeah,
episodes are great episodes.
they really are. Let's be real.
Yeah. We're amazing.
But I do also have a question for you today, Kelly.
Okay.
So, because we are in Pride Month and today's episode is Pride themed, my question is also Pride themed.
Okay.
So, my question is, if you could create a new LGBTQ plus holiday, what would it celebrate and how would it look?
I think I would add a celebration specifically for non-binary people
I love
because
that.
I feel like they kind of get left out a lot. When we talk about pride and sexuality and gender, and I don't know, it feels like we're still kind of more focused on I like women, I like men, I like both. So I feel like maybe something specific for our non-binary pals.
Yeah, I love that. And kind of, I feel like a lot of people too, I mean, not a lot of people, but I feel like there's a large amount of people that don't necessarily understand what it means to be non binary.
Right.
And I know obviously we have people that get up in arms about pronouns and people are insane because you use pronouns every day and they're like, I don't want to use pronouns. Blah, blah, blah.
But they just used I in that sentence.
Yeah. I'm a bigoted asshole. So blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That's exactly how they sound. I'm quoting directly.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if there was maybe not, and again, you're going to have your bigoted assholes that are just never going to listen. But I feel like if they were more educated on why, then I think that they might have a little bit better of an understanding. And not that it is the LGBTQ plus's responsibility to educate people, because it's not, but I don't know. I just think more representation and, more
Yeah.
celebration.
Like a non-binary day of visibility kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think that's what I would add.
Okay. I mean, how would it look?
Well, I think that it's got to be surrounded by a big celebration, a big, I don't know, pool or beach parties all around.
Do you hear voice? I hear talking.
No,
Okay.
I didn't hear anything, but I have the headphones on. I don't know, but I have a little friend here that's been kind of active.
Yeah. We'll talk about him in a minute.
Yeah. A big party, like
Okay.
beach parties and pool parties. And I want to and this is going to be weird, like non-binary bathing suits or gender neutral. Maybe like a romper type situation.
Yeah. I
for
like that.
bathing suits. And I don't know, we'll have to come up with a non-binary punch.
Oh,
I don't know what that would be. It might just be water because we're not
yeah.
really.
Oh, it should be something where it like changes taste at like different
Ooh,
times.
yeah.
I don't know how
Yeah.
we can do that scientifically, but that's my idea.
That's more gender fluid rather than non-binary.
Yeah, but some of the non-binary people go by they, them, and recognize as non-binary because they kind of feel like both sometimes, I think. Not everybody, but I think that's the case for some people.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe the bathing suits will be the non-binary and then we can have the gender fluid punch.
There you go. Absolutely.
And we're including, Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so my day would be like just a general pride celebration, but it would be in October during spooky season.
Ooh, I like that.
So it would just be ghost and rainbows because I feel like that's my whole personality.
Is ghosts and rainbows?
It's ghosts and rainbows.
And ADHD.
Yeah, and ADHD. We're going to throw that in there too. So that would be my day. Just it's a pride celebration in October, just full of ghosts and rainbows, which is why our pride design features ghosts and rainbows.
Yeah, I like it.
And
I'm down.
That's why I had so much fun making my pride merch.
That's right. Stay spooky, everyone.
Stay spooky. Okay, are you ready? Oh, no, we're going to talk about Elias real quick.
Yes.
Yes.
Have I told them who Elias is at this point?
No.
Okay.
I think we did in an episode that we then didn't release because it was shitty audio. So I don't know. Guys, we're sorry. We've had some episodes recently that we've recorded And then the audio was shitty. So then we had to re record, and some things are out of order. So we are kind of all over the place.
We really are. But I got some new haunted dolls.
Yeah. How many do you have right now?
Hold on. 13. 13.
13.
Yeah. So I got some new ones, and then I got some new ones. Oh, you'll hear more, I guess, about the new ones. Did we talk about that in the Paracon?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
No, we didn't talk about the dolls at all in Paracon.
Oh, okay. So I got new dolls, and then I got new dolls. When Jen was out here for Paracon, I like to spoil her, so I got her a goodie bag when she got here, and then she's wanted a doll from the person that I get most of my haunted dolls through. So I ordered another shipment and gifted Jen one of those dolls.
She's hanging out with me.
But one of the ones I got, I think it was not the new dolls, but the new dolls. I got a little, it's like a little boy / clown music box. And his name is Elias. And I've gotten a little bit of activity with like the cat balls over there.
Yeah.
They'll turn on. And you want to go ahead and tell your experience?
Yeah. So when I was out visiting for Paracon, which that episode comes out next week, so tune in for all of that spooky goodness. But one thing we forgot to talk about in that episode was that when I was there, we were getting ready to leave the house, and I was changing in the room that I was staying in, and went to go walk out of the room. And Elias is like, he makes music, but he spins when he makes music. And you have to like wind it to make it make music. Well, no one had touched Elias, and all of a sudden I heard music. And Kelly had warned me that he does that. So I kind of looked at him and leaned over the bookshelf and said, "Oh, okay. Hi, Elias." And when I was looking, the music had stopped at this point, but then he started to spin. And when I tell you, like, the whole thing, I felt like it was slow motion. Like, I didn't know, because at that point, I really didn't know that he spun. I started to connect the things in my brain that he was spinning because of the music, but the music wasn't playing when he was spinning. And again, you have to wind it up to make him spin. So I saw him move, and I bolted downstairs and had to whisper to Kelly because her family doesn't know she has haunted dolls.
Correct.
And I was really excited that I got to actual experience with Elias.
Yeah. And then when we got back from that weekend, you had another experience with Elias.
Yeah, there was just another time I was in the room and he was just started making music again.
And then you also had activity with the doll that I gifted to you.
Yes. So with that doll, her name is Marianne. And Kelly had just given her to me, and I had set her up on Kelly's desk in the room I was staying in. And I had happened to just take a picture of her because I sent her a picture of it to my friend Lynn. Hi, Lynn, if you're listening. And she's been interested in my spooky dolls and asking me about them. So I said, I just got a new one. And I went over into Kelly's room whenever I left the room, I closed the door because Kelly's cats would go in there and I didn't want them to get hair all over my clothes. No one was in there. I was across the hall in Kelly's room talking to her. I was probably only gone for 10, 15 minutes at the most. And I came back in and the doll had moved. And I looked at her because I'm like, that's not where I put her. And then I looked back at the picture that I had sent Lynn and I was like, no, she moved. She definitely moved. So then I was really excited that she moved on her own.
Yeah. So that is the story with the dolls. And I'm just going to say something now that's going to make no sense until you listen to the Paracon episode.
Mm-hmm.
Part 1 will be out next week. You're going to have to wait just a little bit for part 2 because we have themed episodes coming out.
Yes.
But all I'm going to say is add 2 more toes.
Yeah.
There's a total of 3 toes, and you'll hear the story of what happened to toe number 1 in the episode.
So for this episode, this is a special Pride Month episode, and we are going to journey through the haunted heart of New York City's Greenwich Village. This is a neighborhood that is steeped in history, resilience, and undeniable queer spirit. At the center of it all is the Stonewall Inn, the birthplace of the modern LGBTQ plus rights movement. From its early days as a sanctuary for a community marginalized and silenced by fear, to the fierce riots that ignited a global fight for equality, Stonewall carries a legacy of resistance that still resonates today. But beyond the history, we're diving into the paranormal because we're a paranormal podcast, exploring the restless spirits and eerie energy that is said to linger in the very streets and buildings where queer history was made. So grab your rainbow flag and your sense of defiance, because this episode uncovers stories of resistance, hauntings, and hope, a story that refuses to be silenced in life or beyond.
I'm excited.
Me too. This was a fun episode to research. But before we get into it, I have some random facts about the LGBTQ plus community.
Awesome.
So first fact is the rainbow flag, which was designed by Gilbert Baker in 1978, is a symbol of pride and unity for the LGBTQ plus community. The original flag featured 8 colors, each representing different aspects of the community. Hot pink was for sex, red was for life, orange was for healing, yellow for sunlight, green for nature, turquoise for magic and art, blue for harmony, and violet for spirit. However,
I do not remember. I don't know. Oh, because I don't remember hot pink being on a pride flag.
It's not, because production issues led to the simplification, and the flag was reduced to 6 colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet, which has become the widely recognized version that we all know and love. Now, there have been a lot of variations of the flag that have emerged over time, and that helps reflect the diverse identities within the LGBTQ plus community.
Sorry, I thought I heard something behind me. I got distracted.
Okay. So that's all about the pride flags.
Yeah, I kind of wish. Do you hear that? No, I think I hear talking.
I'm not hearing it now.
But maybe it's coming from your house because it's in my headphones.
Maybe.
Any hoodles, I kind of wish hot pink was still on the flag.
Yeah, me too. I love hot pink.
Yeah.
Next fact is William Dorsey Swan, who was an African-American former slave, is often credited as the first drag queen. He hosted drag balls and performed in women's clothing in the late 1800s, and even called himself the Queen of Drag.
Oh, that's cool. Have you ever been to a drag show?
I have. I just went to the one for the Super Mario hose.
Oh, that's
sent you
right.
Pictures.
Yeah. I've only been to one a couple of years ago, and I don't think there's a better time to be had.
I just heard something in my kitchen.
I heard something too. I heard it too.
We're both getting haunted tonight. This is going to be a fun episode. I don't know. I do want to tell you guys, I did start using a new editing software, which automatically edits out a lot of background noises. So I know before I used to keep in some of the noises that we hear, but this new editing software is so much easier and saves me so much time. So sorry if you guys aren't hearing the haunting, because I'm not going back to the old software.
Yeah, seriously. Anyway, like I was saying, I don't think a better time can be had than a drag show.
They're fantastic. And the one that I went to was so great because it was, like I said, the theme was Super Mario Hose. And they did a play off of some current-ish events where Luigi got injured in a car accident by Bowser, and Bowser ended up being the CEO of a healthcare insurance company and basically screwed Luigi out of getting his benefits, and then Luigi unalived him. And then there was a whole trial, and it was very timely, y'all. It was great. I was a fan.
I think that I liked the best when I went to mine was they had, have you ever seen the movie Silence of the Lambs?
No, actually, which I know is horrifying.
Yeah. So they're the killer in that movie.
I know of it, obviously.
Like the guy that's like you put the lotion in the basket or you get the hose again.
The basket.
So the performer was playing that character. and they were dancing. They had like a basket and like a little stuffed dog with it, and with the basket. It was so fun. And as they were like kind of dancing around, they had like a little squirt bottle with lotion, and they would go and like
I love that.
It was really fun.
Whenever you manage to make your way back out to St. Augustine to visit me, we'll have to find a drag show to go to.
That would be great.
Maybe like a brunch or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like fun.
Does.
Okay. Next fact is about Christine Jorgensen, who was the first American to undergo gender affirming surgery in 1952. And I can't even imagine what she went through.
I didn't realize it was like that far back, like in the 50s.
Her story was a media sensation, and she became an icon for the transgender community and helped to raise awareness.
That's awesome.
I mean, I can't even imagine what she went through.
That had to be terrifying. Like, this is the first one we've done. Like, we think we know how it's going to go.
Right.
Like how everything's going to work. And
then all the stigma that goes with it, and just of being a transgender. Well, I can't. I
what
mean,
a brave woman.
Yeah. So brave. So much credit. Then, not quite as long ago, the first legal same-sex marriage in the United States was performed in Massachusetts in 2004, following the landmark ruling by the state Supreme Court. The U.S., as we know, did not legalize same-sex marriage nationwide until June 26, 2015.
Which is ridiculous.
Absolutely absurd.
When it was legal in Maryland, I immediately got ordained.
Yeah.
I was ready, willing, and able to marry anyone, but I particularly thought it would be really cool to be able to take part in that celebration.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of, same-sex couples being able to get married. At that time in my life, I thought I was straight.
Yeah.
Listen, I am attracted enough to men that it was easy for me to deny and bury attraction to women.
Same. That's exactly how I am.
Because, I was raised in a, Christian household in a church that stuff just wasn't. We were actually told that if we had any feelings towards the same sex, that it was either one, we were just wondering what it's like to have a sexual experience with ourselves, like what other people experience when they have sex with us, or it was, demons, clearly.
Yeah. I have plenty of sexual experiences with myself. Thank you. I don't have to wonder. Just saying. Never crossed my mind. And our last fun fact is the first openly gay character on a major U.S. television show appeared in All in the Family in 1971. The character, Steve, was a friend of Archie Bunker's son-in-law, and though his appearance was brief, it was a groundbreaking moment in TV history. And now I do just want to say, obviously, that show is very problematic for a lot of reasons.
Yes.
But I also think it was ahead of its time, because the way I look at it, and maybe not everybody looks at it the same way, is Archie obviously was very old school, very racist. I don't remember the character Steve, but sexist. I'm sure he was homophobic. But it almost was like I took it as he was the bad guy. In a lot of instances, that a lot of the other people on the show looked down upon him. And I think for his views. So I think in that time, it was ahead of its time in that while he did still say and do all of these things, it was bad. It wasn't really viewed upon as like he was this great person. And again, problematic in a lot of senses, but I do have to give it credit for the time that it was out, especially knowing that they did include the first openly gay character.
Right. Yeah, I didn't even know that. Like I've seen episodes of the show, but it was an older show even when I was little.
My parents used to watch it.
Yeah, I would see reruns sometimes.
Yeah.
But
yep.
The first, the defining, gay person on TV moment that I remember was when Ellen's character on her sitcom, when
Yeah,
she came out, and it was like a big deal.
right.
That's what stands out in my brain. But I
Yeah.
had no idea about All in the Family.
Now, okay, we are going to get into a little bit of the historical background of the Stonewall Inn, because while this episode is going to talk about the hauntings in Greenwich Village, the center point, in my opinion, of Greenwich Village is the Stonewall Inn. And we're going to just kind of get a little history about it and a little bit about the riots, and then we'll dive into the hauntings.
Awesome.
Okay, so the building at 53 Christopher Street in Greenwich Village, famously known today as the Stonewall Inn, originally served a very different purpose. It was constructed in 1843, and it was built as a carriage house, which was an outbuilding designed to store horse-drawn carriages and shelter horses for a nearby wealthy residence. Back then, Greenwich Village was largely residential, with many similar structures catering to the needs of the affluent families. Now, the Stonewall Inn opened its doors as a bar in 1967, but it wasn't your typical neighborhood watering hole. At the time, the bar was owned and operated by the Mafia.
Interesting.
Specifically, Anthony Fat Tony Pirellia. That was his nickname. I'm not calling him fat. I do not body shame here. I didn't even look up a picture of him. I have no idea if he actually was a larger man.
Fat Tony.
He called himself Fat Tony, okay? Just throwing that out there. And he was an associate of the powerful Genovese crime family. So the Mafia saw an opportunity to run a gay bar because at the time, which I did not know this until I researched this episode, it was illegal to serve alcohol to LGBTQ plus patrons under New York law.
Illegal?
Illegal.
To sell alcohol to them?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know. Because hatred.
It's so weird.
Like,
you would think that they're I get it, hatred, right? But
yeah,
my brain says there must have been something they thought that gay people would do while drunk. Maybe, I don't know, have more gay sex. I don't know. It just is such a weird thing.
Flirt with a straight person, which is what people fear that gay people do, even though they don't. Really?
Listen, I have never met a person that has said, I don't care if you're gay, but just don't flirt with me or don't come on to me. I've never met a person that says that looks anywhere close to someone a gay person would come on to.
No.
Or flirt with.
No, me either.
Not one person I've ever heard say that.
In fact, I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to say most people, gay or straight, would probably not flirt with them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So gay bars at the time were frequently raided by police, but the Mafia was able to exploit the widespread police corruption, which police being corrupt, that's not a thing.
Nah, that never happens.
Never. And in case you do not have a sarcasm meter, that was sarcasm.
I think our listeners are smart enough. I think they picked up on it.
Probably. I'm hoping. But the Mafia bribed the officers to kind of turn their head and look the other way, which allowed the Stonewall Inn to operate despite breaking the liquor licensing laws. Because it was an illegal operation, the bar was poorly maintained, and it was famous for its lack of running water in the bathrooms, which, ew.
Yeah.
It also had a backdoor entrance to help the patrons evade police surveillance. Now, for those of you who are thinking, how progressive of the Mafia, you can stop that right now, because the Mafia's motivation was purely financial. They were not interested in supporting LGBTQ plus rights or community building. They simply saw a lucrative business market that had few legal or safe alternatives, and this resulted in minimal concern for customer comfort or safety as long as the bar could keep running and the profits flowed. And let's face it, it was one of the few places that LGBTQ plus people could go and just be themselves. So
Right.
despite the shitty conditions and being run by the mafia, they were like, well, this is our only option.
When you have no options and then you have one option, sometimes that one option feels like a really good blessing.
Absolutely. So the Stonewall Inn's unique position as both a marginalized queer space and a mafia-run speakeasy style bar helped create an environment charged with a lot of tension. The patrons knew they were vulnerable to police harassment, but as I said, the bar was one of the few places that LGBTQ plus people could gather openly. So this was a mix of danger and sanctuary, and it ultimately led to the 1969 Stonewall Riots, which was a defining moment of resistance that ignited the modern day LGBTQ plus rights movement. Though the Stonewall Inn began as a repurposed carriage house and was operated under corrupt circumstances, it became much more than that, a symbol of resistance, defiance, and the fight for equality, rooted in the fabric of the Greenwich Village. In the 1960s, homosexuality was criminalized across much of the country, and LGBTQ plus people regularly faced police harassment and social discrimination. New York City was no exception. And despite this bar being run by the mafia, which did bribe police to avoid raids, there were still raids pretty frequently at the Stonewall Inn and other gay bars run by the mafia. So why did the police raid Stonewall if the mafia was paying them off? Well, there's a couple of reasons. And one is that the city officials and conservative groups were pushing to clean up the city, and they often targeted gay bars as a part of a broader moral crackdown. There was also the inconsistent...
Well, it's funny to me that between the mafia and gay people, they were like, we got to clean up the city. Let's get rid of the gay people.
Yeah.
And not the mafia.
That's a really good point.
Okay.
Didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah.
There was also the fact that there was inconsistent bribes. So the mafia payouts didn't always prevent raids because there was varied levels of corruption between the different officers and precincts and a lot of intricacies going on. Stonewall was also one of the most well-known gay bars in the village, so it was a very high-profile target. And then you just had the asshole cops that just wanted to assert control or show toughness, which, again, that's not a thing that happens.
It's not a thing.
No.
It doesn't happen.
All cops,
never in the history of ever has it happened.
All cops have a heart of gold and have the best intentions always.
Specifically the ones that cover up their badge number and turn off their body cams.
Yes, yeah. Especially those.
Yeah, they're the best.
Sure. They're the best. So in the early mornings of June 28th, 1969, the NYPD raided Stonewall Inn, as they had done many times before. But this time was a little different. The patrons resisted. Many of those inside, including drag queens and transgender women, refused to submit quietly. When the police tried to arrest Marsha P. Johnson, who is a prominent transgender activist, the crowd erupted in protest. People that were waiting to get into the bar outside joined in. They started throwing bottles and bricks at police. What started as a resistance to one arrest escalated to a full-scale riot as more people gathered to support the fight. This continued for several nights. The crowds grew larger and the confrontations grew more intense. The LGBTQ plus community, who have been long oppressed and isolated, found their strength in unity and resistance. Activists like Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, and Stormy DeLarve played key roles in standing up against brutality. The riots gained national media attention, and they shined a spotlight on the discrimination faced by the LGBTQ plus people and energized the push for equal rights. So the Stonewall riots weren't just a protest against police raids. They marked the start of the powerful movement for social justice, visibility, and community that continues to shape LGBTQ plus activism today. This was a major shift in activism and visibility. The riots inspired creations of organizations like the Gay Liberation Front, GLF, and the Gay Activist Alliance, GAA, which pushed beyond legal rights to demand full liberation and equality, which we are still fighting for today and blows my mind.
Yeah. We made some good progress, and now we're going
backwards.
Which
I wonder
really
why.
Sucks. Oh, I don't know.
I'm not sure. Couldn't tell you.
No, it's a mystery.
It is. In 1970, the first Pride marches took place on the 1-year anniversary of Stonewall, starting in New York, LA, and Chicago. These are now annual celebrations and have grown into global events celebrating LGBTQ plus identity and rights. Stonewall marked a turning point, bringing national and global attention to LGBTQ plus issues. It shifted public perception and energized the community to demand respect and recognition. The Stonewall Inn was named a New York City landmark in 1999, and it became the first U.S. national monument dedicated to LGBTQ plus rights in 2016. It stands as the birthplace of the modern LGBTQ plus movement.
I don't know. It left my brain.
Good job.
It was there. It was there. And then it left.
Maybe if you weren't so distracted while I was talking, you would remember.
I'm taking notes.
No, you are not.
Because I'm trying to remember questions that I wanted to ask, and I started to write it down, and then you stopped talking. And it left.
Good job.
It left. Because sometimes you're talking about things and it's like, oh, I want to comment on that, but I don't necessarily want to interrupt you mid-sentence.
I just interrupt you.
I'll try to take a little note of it, but I distracted myself by looking down to take the note.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a chance to write anything down.
That's fair. That's why I just interrupt you, because I know if I don't get the question out, as soon as it pops into my head, it's gone forever.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah. Okay. So we are now going to jump into the hauntings because we're a paranormal podcast and that's what we got to talk about.
We are.
Greenwich Village, often known as just the Village, is one of New York City's most iconic neighborhoods. It's known for its rich history, artistic spirit, and cultural diversity. Originally, it was a rural area in the 17th century, but it did transform over time into a vibrant urban community that attracted writers, artists, and free thinkers. By the early 20th century, the Village became a hub for counterculture and progressive ideas. Oh, progressive ideas, scary.
No, not progressive.
That's the real scary part of today's episode.
Yeah.
Making it a natural gathering place for communities seeking acceptance and freedom. Among these communities was the LGBTQ plus population, who found refuge in the Village's open-minded atmosphere when much of the world remained hostile and unwelcoming. Today, the Village remains a vital center for LGBTQ plus culture and activism, celebrating its history while continuing to inspire new generation in the ongoing fight for equality and acceptance. That's all we're asking for, guys.
That's it.
Equality and acceptance. I don't think those are radical ideas.
It shouldn't be that hard.
It's really not. Just don't be a dick.
Like, seriously. And if your neighbor likes dick or not, it makes no difference to you.
Right. The best quote that I ever read, and I think I saw it a meme way back when on Facebook, it was telling someone that they can't be gay because it goes against your religion is like telling someone they can't have a donut because you are on a diet.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
It's not logical.
Makes zero difference. to anybody's life if somebody is gay. And all of the, oh, well, what about the children? Well, I was raised by 2 straight parents and I'm not straight. So what about them?
What about them? And
What
there
about
are
them?
many children out there that are raised by gay parents that are straight.
Right.
It's not something that you're going to learn.
If you learn anything from gay parents, it's that you should love and accept people. And that's a beautiful lesson.
Yes. Wonderful lesson. Anywho, we're going to talk about the House of Death.
The House of Death. Wow, this episode took a turn.
Love and acceptance. House of Death.
That's great.
Okay. So the House of Death stands proudly since the 1950s. It is a distinguished Greek Revival brownstone located at 14 West 10th Street and was once a symbol of prosperity in New York City's growing Greenwich Village. As time passed, the building acquired an unsettling reputation, leading to the ominous nickname, the House of Death, due to the extraordinary number of tragedies, deaths, and alleged hauntings associated with it over the years. Now, do you want to know who one of the most notable residents of this house was?
I do.
The renowned author, Mark Twain.
Oh.
He lived there for approximately 1 whole year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, Twain initially dismissed any supernatural occurrences, but after he moved out, again, he only lived there for a year, he did reportedly acknowledge experiencing some unexplained phenomena. Do-do-do-do-do. Throughout its 170-year history, the building has weathered numerous tragedies, cementing its place as one of Manhattan's most notoriously haunted locations. The House of Death is believed to be inhabited by more than 22 spirits.
That's specific.
It's not really that specific because it says more than 22.
I guess specific is the wrong word. But it is funny that it's like, we don't know how many, but we know it's more than 22.
We know it's more than 22. So there's at least 22 and there's then more.
There might be 23.
There
is at least, well, if it's 22 and more, then there has to be 23.
Then there's at least 23. You're right. Yeah. It could be 72. We don't know. It could be 189.
It could be 69.
It could be 69. So these spirits range from unknown entities to the alleged ghost of Mark Twain himself.
Oh.
He lived there for a year. He didn't die there. I call him BS on that one. But the accumulation of energy from the numerous tragic events, including accidents, suicides, and a very highly publicized case of domestic violence in 1987, which I am not going to go into details about because it is horrific. So if you are interested, look it up because we're not going to talk about it on this episode. But that has led to the speculation that the building holds a residual psychic imprint.
Okay.
Despite its dark past, this brownstone was converted into a 10-unit apartment building in the early 20th century and remains private residential property, which I kind of want to live there now.
It sounds like it might be kind of cool.
It sounds like it's a great place. I want to go.
Yeah.
Though I don't ever want to live in New York. I want a friend that lives there so I can just go visit.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never been to New York. Maybe I would get there and love it and then want to live there. I have no idea.
No, Kelly, I know you. You would hate it.
Why?
It's too people-y.
It is kind of people-y.
It's very people-y. It's a lot of loud noises. It's very overwhelming.
It's dirty.
I mean, don't get me wrong. You should visit, but you could not live there. I could not live there.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. Numerous tenants and visitors over the years have reported different experiences within the building. These include sightings of full-bodied apparitions, including a man resembling Mark Twain dressed in a white suit.
Okay.
Still calling BS on Mark Twain, sorry. Unexplained cold drafts, flickering lights, disembodied voices, and objects moving on their own. Some residents have described feelings of being watched, and this is a different one, Kelly. We don't get this a lot. Sudden nausea upon entering certain rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that in some of like the bigger places like Penhurst, Waverly Hills, Eastern State, like some of the like really big where a lot of tragic stuff happened.
Yeah.
That you will hear a lot that sometimes it's specifically women will feel nauseous in an area.
Where was the location that Alex threw up in?
I believe it was it Hillview? Hillview Manor or something?
Yes, it was. And they went back there again. And I think he redeemed himself. No, they haven't gone back.
I think
He's doing his
solo there.
He's doing a solo. That's why I remembered, because they talked about it at Paracon, which tune in next week to get more information on Paracon.
Yeah.
That's where his solo is. So he said he redeemed himself. It has not aired yet, so we don't really know.
Yep.
And then the other thing that they report in this building is dreams so vivid that they blur the line between reality and the supernatural.
I would kind of like that explained.
I don't have any explanation for you.
Like, what exactly does that mean? They blur the line between, what was it, reality and
the supernatural? I kind of take it as maybe like a sleep paralysis type situation.
That's the only thing I can think of. Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Even those that are skeptical of these hauntings have noted that the building has a unsettling aura about it.
Okay.
Now, one of the things about all of the buildings we're going to talk about, or all these locations we're going to talk about, is I'm going to try to tie them in to the LGBTQ plus community. And unfortunately, this is the only place that doesn't directly tie into LGBTQ plus history, but it is just blocks away from Stonewall. And how could I not include the House of Death in this episode?
I agree. I think it was a good move.
It, right? So I hope you all forgive me.
Not the House of Death.
When I Googled a list of haunted places in Greenwich Village and the House of Death was on there, it was already chosen for me. I had to do it.
Exactly.
The next one we are going to talk about is Washington Square Park. Now, long before it became a lively public space in the heart of the village, Washington Square Park was a potter's field. It was also a mass burial ground for the city's poor, enslaved, and victims of disease, including those who died of the yellow fever epidemics in the late 1700s and early 1800s. And now it's a park.
Nice.
From around 1797 to 1825, it is estimated that, Kelly, are you ready for this number?
I probably not.
You're not. It is estimated that about 20,000 people were buried here.
Are they still buried there?
Yes.
Nice. Let's go hang out at the park. Over 20,000 dead bodies.
That's actually pretty common in a lot of cities where there are just bodies buried under streets. Savannah's famous for that. There's a lot of dead bodies under the streets of Savannah. St. Augustine's famous for it.
Streets, it feels different to me than park.
Than a park. Yeah. It gets worse though, Kelly, because the park was also, before it was a park, not after it was a park, thankfully, but before it was a park, it was also the site of public executions. And there is a notorious hangman's elm, which is a large ancient tree in the northwest corner. And it is said to have been used for hangings, though some historians will dispute this fact.
Okay.
But still.
That's not great.
No. The area was officially designated as a park in 1826. It was named after George Washington, and it is today evolved into a central spot for activism, performance, and community. Visitors and paranormal enthusiasts have reported cold spots, strange sounds, and fleeting apparitions, especially after dark. The Hangman's Elm is a focal point for supernatural stories with tales of shadowy figures hanging from invisible nooses, ghostly orbs, and feelings of dread near its twisted base.
Cold spots outside, I'm pretty skeptical of that.
It depends on the time of the year.
Strange noises, too.
Strange noises, for sure. But cold spots in the summer, that's a little weird.
I think it would have to be drastic.
Yeah,
because sometimes,
obviously.
Like, I can see people walking under a tree and it's shady and they're like, oh, it just got colder here.
Yeah. In some accounts, figures in 18th or 19th century attire have been spotted wandering the park's path. Could be reenactments, maybe. I don't know.
I guess.
Grasping at straws. While skeptics attribute the sensations to urban myths or suggestions, there's just an overall eerie atmosphere that has persisted for generations, for those, I guess, who know what the park is. Now, Washington Square Park has served as a symbolic and physical gathering place for New York City's LGBTQ plus community. It is just blocks away from Stonewall Inn, and the park has hosted countless pride marches, rallies, die-ins, vigils, and celebrations.
All right.
Yeah, so at least it's doing some good.
Yeah. To be built on top of 20,000 people, I'm glad it's at least doing some good.
Yeah, exactly. Next building is the NYU Brown Building. Now, the NYU Brown Building is located in the Village, and it's most historically known as the site for the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire on March 25th, 1911. The disaster occurred on the 8th, 9th, and 10th floors of the Ash Building, as it was then called, where the Triangle Shirtwaist Company employed hundreds of young immigrant women under hazardous working conditions. A fire broke out, and due to locked exit doors, overcrowding, and the lack of safety protocols, 146 workers died, many of them leaping from windows in desperation.
Oh, that's terrible.
Tragic. The tragedy shook the nation and led to sweeping labor reforms. After 5 minutes of Kelly and I both trying to pronounce this word, which I can pronounce it, I just can't today.
Same.
It's not coming out of either of our mouths right. So I'm just going to play the recording to replace my voice. In 1929, NYU acquired the building and renamed it after
philanthropist
Frederick Brown.
That's great. We're going to have to do that more often.
We will, because sometimes it happens, guys. Today, the Brown Building is part of New York University and houses the science laboratories, classrooms, and academic offices, primarily for the College of Arts and Science. Although its exterior and interior have been renovated for a more modern academic use, the building remains a designated national landmark. And there is still a memorial plaque that honors the lives lost during the 1911 fire. Over the years, the NYU students and faculty have reported unexplained experiences within the Brown Building. Some claim to hear echoes of screaming, which is terrifying.
Ooh. Yeah.
Running footsteps when no one is present, or the sound of old sewing machines at night.
Freaky.
Yeah. Others describe cold drafts, flickering lights, and the apparitions of young women in early 20th century clothing, particularly near stairwells and elevators. These accounts are largely anecdotal, aren't all paranormal accounts, but have persisted. But have persisted over generations, adding a layer of unease to an otherwise studious environment. Now, while this is not directly tied to an LGBTQ plus historic site, the Brown Building does represent a pivotal moment in intersectional social justice history. The Triangle Fire galvanized the labor movement, inspired feminist organizing, and helped shift national attitudes towards workers' rights and immigrant protections. These movements helped to lay the groundwork for future civil rights struggles, including the LGBTQ plus activism. The next house is the Emma Lazarus House.
Ooh,
now, this
Lazarus.
one is this one is really cool. It is located on a quiet tree-lined block in the Village. The townhouse at 18 West 10th Street was once home to Emma Lazarus, who is a renowned 19th century poet, best known for writing the New Colossus. Do you know what that is?
I do not.
I didn't either, but it is the sonnet that is inscribed on the pedestal of the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Emma was born into a wealthy Jewish family in New York City, and she used her literary voice to advocate for Jewish refugees, especially those fleeing anti Semitic violence in Eastern Europe. Her residency at this address in the 1800s marked a highly productive period in her life. She did unfortunately die tragically in 1887 at the age of 38 from Hodgkin's lymphoma, shortly after returning from a trip to Europe. Emma's sudden and early death, combined with her deep emotional connection to the cause she championed for, has fueled speculation that her spirit may linger in the home she once occupied. Lazarus was known for her intensity and idealism. I love that. I want to be known for my intensity and idealism.
Same.
Right? Devoting her life to human rights, literature, and the Jewish immigrant experience. So currently, this house is a private residence and it is not open to the public. But the reported hauntings over the years, it's not widely publicized, but people have reported unexplained sounds such as faint weeping, the rustling of papers, and footsteps when no one is present. Few have also said that they have seen an apparition of a woman in Victoria-era clothing at the window or descending the staircase, who they believe to be Lazarus herself. Again, reportings are anecdotal, but they do kind of add to that eerie reputation of West 10th Street. And it is also just doors away from the House of Death.
The good old House of Death.
House of Death. I want to go to the House of Death, Kelly.
Let's do a trip.
Okay, it's an apartment building.
I don't know. Somebody let us in.
Hopefully. We'll just knock on. Can we investigate your house, please? No? Okay. Can we investigate your house, please? No? Okay.
It's a good way to die.
It is.
It'll be the House of Death again.
Again.
When some strange person is like, sure, come on in,
Come
ladies.
on in, ladies. You can investigate my House of Death.
Gross.
Although Emma Lazarus was not known to be part of the LGBTQ plus community herself, her passionate advocacy for marginalized and persecuted groups, particularly Jewish immigrants, resonates deeply with the LGBTQ plus experience. Her poetry emphasized inclusion, identity, and the right to dignity and belonging. Again, not radical ideas, guys.
Not at all.
No. Themes that mirror core values in LGBTQ plus activism. And the last place that we are going to talk about today is the Cherry Lane Theater. So Cherry Lane was founded in 1924, and it holds the distinction of being New York City's oldest continuously operating off-Broadway theater.
I've seen somebody investigate this, I think.
Have you? Probably.
Maybe it might have been ghost hunters.
That sounds like something they would do.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, it is located on a quaint tucked-away street in the Village. The building itself dates back to 1817 and originally served as a farm silo and later a brewery before being converted into a performance space. Over its century-long history, Cherry Lane became a sanctuary for groundbreaking theatrical voices, housing the early works of playwrights like Samuel Beckett, Edward Albee, Lorraine Hansberry, and Tennessee Williams. Oh. Its roots in the avant-garde and experimental theater movements made it a hub for boundary-pushing storytelling and marginalized voices. The theater's long artistic history and its location in the heart of Greenwich Village makes it ripe for ghostly lore. The energy of generations of passionate performers, writers, and audience members is said to linger within the space. Some believe the very act of artistic expression can imprint strong emotions into a place, especially in a venue as historically rich and emotionally charged as Cherry Lane. Today, Cherry Lane Theater continues to operate as a thriving off-Broadway venue. Actors and stagehands and patrons have all reported a range of unexplained occurrences, such as mysterious footsteps in empty hallways, sudden drafts in closed rooms, and disembodied voices heard during rehearsals. Some have even claimed to see apparitions, particularly of a well-dressed woman seated quietly in the audience or wandering backstage. These sightings are often attributed to former performers or patrons who felt a profound connection to the theater and never left. Now, Cherry Lane has been a beacon for queer voices in the theatrical world. Throughout its history, it has produced works by iconic LGBTQ plus playwrights such as Lanford Wilson, Harvey Fierstein, and Charles Busch. The theater has also provided space for plays exploring gender, sexuality, identity, and queer resistance, especially during the height of the AIDS crisis when mainstream platforms were less willing to do so.
Maybe that's where I've heard of this place from, is I watched a documentary about the AIDS epidemic.
Oh, maybe.
And when, like, the doctors that were trying to figure out what was going on and how hard it was to get, like, Reagan to even call it what it was.
Yeah.
Because they called it, like, gay-related, they called it GRID, gay-related immune deficiency at first. Because they believed that only gay people could get it.
Oh, okay.
And then...
Because that's logical.
Right. There was a couple of cases where people got it through a blood transfusion. And then they were like, oh, you don't have to be gay to get it.
Oh, my goodness. This affects straight people too? Now we care about it.
And I think that in that show, I think that theater was in it because there was a lot of stuff going on, like in a theater play environment. So it must have been, that must be where I think I've seen it.
Interesting.
It's called And the Band Plays On, if you ever want to look it up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, the Stonewall Inn stands as a powerful symbol of resistance and LGBTQ plus history, but it is just one part of the rich, layered story of Greenwich Village, a neighborhood steeped in creativity, community, and yes, a few restless spirits. Whether you believe in literal hauntings or see them as echoes of history, the village and Stonewall alike are charged with the energy of those who lived, loved, and fought here. The question isn't just if these places are haunted, but by whom. The activists, artists, and everyday people who shaped a movement and refused to be silenced. Together, Stonewall and Greenwich Village remain living monuments, places where past and present meet, where history lingers in the shadows, and where the spirit of rebellion continues to inspire. And that brings us to the end of this episode, exploring not just the Stonewall Inn, but the wider spirit of Greenwich Village. Stonewall is a powerful symbol of pain, pride, and revolution, but the village itself carries a rich history, the echoes of those who lived, loved, and fought.
If you love what you heard, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen. Your support helps us reach more listeners and share even more spooky stories.
And don't forget to follow us, because if you're not already following us on Instagram at Not My Ghost Podcast and on Facebook at Not My Ghost, Not My Problem, what the actual fuck are you doing with your life?
Exactly.
I want to know. Go follow us and tell us why it took you so long to follow us. Unless this is your first episode that you're listening to, then great job. Go follow us.
Yeah. Then I hope you're following us right now.
Right now. Getting out your phone right now and hitting follow.
If you want even more ghostly content, consider joining our Patreon at patreon.com/notmyghost, We have some fantastic exclusive perks for our supporters.
Sorry.
You should leave that in.
Okay. My very loud sneeze.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Oh, it's still me.
It's still your turn.
Weird. I'm crazy tonight.
She is. She's all over the place, guys.
And if you've ever had a spine-tingling paranormal
Paranormal.
And if you've ever had a spine-tingling paranormal encounter, share your story with us at notmyghostpodcast@gmail.com. And you will hear it featured on a future episode.
You will. Our inbox is pretty lonely, so please send us stories.
Katie. Send the damn stories, Katie.
Katie, what are you doing with your life?
If you're not Katie, then disregard this.
And if your name is Katie and you have a story to send, then we're talking to you as well.
Right. So get on it, will you?
Do it. Thank you for joining us on this powerful journey through the history and the hauntings of Greenwich Village. Remember, as you move through spaces once silenced, keep this in mind.
If it's not your riot,
be the solution, not the problem.
Until next time, stay spooky
and stay skeptical.